Tonight on Cronkite News, a battle over legislation to fund Arizona schools.
Plus, a group of politicians want to crack down on an organized retail theft in Arizona. Find out how they plan to do it.
The Super Bowl or the Swift Bowl, a new Arizona bill that is going after ticket bots and resellers. What the future of concerts and sport events could look like. Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News. I'm Jacob Jones.
And I'm Athena Kehoe. Thank you for joining us.
You may have seen recent videos on social media of groups of thieves stealing large amounts of merchandise from stores and getting away easily. A group of politicians is hoping to combat organized retail theft in Arizona.
Rebecca Daly was at the Capitol and says the new effort will mean harsher penalties for thieves.
Lawmakers were joined by the Maricopa County Attorney to promote new legislation that would crack down specifically on repeat offenders of organized retail theft. Maricopa County Attorney Rachel Mitchell says the theft is a huge problem as retailers are losing thousands of dollars a day. Mitchell said her office received roughly 591 cases for the charge of organized retail theft last year. She noted that their most recent prosecutions were last Friday, where the defendant took $36,000 worth of merchandise.
Under the current sentencing ranges, many of the repeat offenders remain as a Category 1, a lower level offense. This bill that is being sponsored by Speaker Toma would make the third offense committed by the defendants a Category 2 offense and allow us more leeway in sentencing.
The bill specifically targets people who are taking large quantities of items. If passed, new guidelines could meet up to 4 years in prison for some offenses. In the newsroom, Rebecca Daly, Cronkite News.
American Airlines announced it's slashing hundreds of jobs right here in the Valley. American says it's reorganizing the way it handles customer service. That means cuts to more than 300 current positions in Phoenix. However, American says those employees will get a first chance to apply for newly created jobs.
The news comes as Phoenix Sky Harbor International Airport announces its busiest year ever when it comes to passenger traffic. Sky Harbor said today that 2023 saw a record number traveling through its gates, to the tune of 48.8 million people. A battle is brewing over legislation to fund Arizona schools, specifically extending Proposition 123.
Cronkite News reporter Maria Staubs tells us that Governor Katie Hobbs is throwing her support behind a plan that will increase funding for school overall.
At the Capitol on Monday, Governor Katie Hobbs introduced a plan to raise pay for educators and staff while also improving school safety. She says this can all be done without raising taxes for Arizonans. The plan is a proposed extension of Proposition 123, renewing it for 10 more years and expanding funding from the State Land Trust from 6.9% to 8.9%. The State Treasurer's Office released a statement recommending a 4 to 5% distribution instead, saying that's the return rate that Wall Street forecasters predict over the next decade for a fund like the State Land Trust. But Hobbs says the state's thriving economy allows the new distribution rate without jeopardizing the state's land trust.
We just respectfully disagree with her, and our numbers are different than hers in terms of the strength of the trust and the position it would be in if we increase the distribution.
Under her plan, nearly half of funds would go toward increasing teacher pay, 2.5% would go toward general school funding, 1.5% toward school support staff, and the remaining 0.5% would fund safety and security, which Savannah Galaviz-Trenguch says would help librarians like herself.
As for educational support professionals, the situation is dire. We make an average of $29,000 a year. That is not a living wage for one person, not enough to raise a family.
Republican lawmakers are trying to pass their own measure, which extends Proposition 123 at its current rate and directs all funding toward boosting teacher pay. If the proposition isn't extended, it will expire next year. At the Capitol, Maria Staubs, Cronkite News.
And while the governor is floating her own plan, it's the legislature that has the power to put the plan before voters who ultimately will decide on the measure in November.
If you are looking for a new place to explore in Arizona, you're in luck. A new Arizona State Park is opening in February. The Rock and River State Ranch Park will encompass 209 acres between the Coconino and Prescott National Forests. The state park will have 6 hiking trails and access to the Verde River. Governor Hobbs is set to speak at the park's opening on February 8th.
And if you're on social media, you might notice a growing number of teens obsessing over skincare, but it ultimately could be damaging their skin.
Cronkite News reporter Sydney Whitty spoke with local skincare experts on how trending products are impacting tweens and teen skin.
Typically, a retinol should be a product that you slowly acclimate your skin onto. It's typically considered a product for anti-aging, sometimes used for acne. But on younger skin types, it typically is going to be way too harsh.
Products like retinol, sometimes referred to as vitamin A, are known for being an anti-aging skincare product. And a local esthetician says using overly acidic items at a young age without professional help can ultimately cause issues.
It can damage the skin barrier, so the overall health of the skin. It could strip the oils, causing more breakouts, and just premature aging of the skin if they're using too many of anti-aging products at a very young age.
Cleanser from CeraVe. If you have post-breakout
On TikTok, the hashtag skincare has over 16.5 million posts. Estheticians are noticing the rising trend firsthand. Aunt Sharizi and Linehan say they've had their teen clients or parents asking about products their children are finding via social media.
See it with clients who tell me that their daughters are asking for their birthday for certain products and ones that would not be age appropriate. So I do definitely notice that this is something that is, it's not even about like taking care of your skin. It has become more of an obsession.
An obsession that these estheticians believe is caused by social media trends and marketing.
A lot of people will go off of Amazon or go to Sephora and not know what their skin type is or what they need for their skin. They'll just kind of find whatever the labels say and whatever TikTok says.
However, there are certain circumstances active products like retinol should be used on teens, such as acne-prone skin, but only after a professional has created a routine that's appropriate for the client.
There's ways that I have to configure a routine based on how young they are. So that's not being done when you pick a product off the shelf.
In Phoenix, Sydney Whitty, Cronkite News.
Taking care of your mental health is important, but it can be difficult when you don't have the proper resources.
This can be especially hard for undocumented immigrants. After the break, we'll meet people from several organizations that are trying to help.
Plus, a big cool down and some rain headed our way. Your weather forecast is next.
As journalists at Cronkite News, we report on stories that matter to you by focusing on the local impact. We dig deeper and work tirelessly to keep you informed.
Live in Wickerburg.
Live in Los Angeles.
In Cleveland. In Washington. In Louisville.
From Jerusalem.
Live in Philadelphia. From around the world to right here in Phoenix.
At Cronkite News, we report the facts and stick to the truth.
ASU's one and only student-run radio station, Blaze Radio, provides students with opportunities to cover a variety of topics. From music,
this is Sun City Garage,
to sports coverage.
Against the Brewers in his last outing, he went
to news.
The bill also gives parents the ability to sue.
And entertainment updates. Blaze Radio offers a fun environment to gain valuable broadcast experience. To find out more, visit blazeradioonline.com.
People living under the Temporary Immigration Protection Act, known as DACA, face many hurdles that can cause fear, anxiety, and general mental health challenges.
And DACA recipients aren't eligible for many of the health programs that provide physical and mental health benefits. As John Leos reports, these barriers mean many immigrants aren't seeking the mental health care that they need.
Being in constant reminder of the fact that you are not fully approved
to be in the country. Impacts you mentally, it impacts your behaviors in the way that there's anxiety that builds up from the uncertainty. So I was living in a very unsafe part of Mexico City. There were kidnappings happening around the neighborhood, and my parents were afraid that that could happen to us. My mom's family had mostly migrated to Arizona, so because of that fear, we left everything, even the dog, behind, and then we came here to the United States. I went to this meeting, and they were supporting the DREAM Act and against Prop 300, and that's when I got involved.
Proposition 300 was a proposition that was passed in 2006, and this is a proposition that denied in-state tuition to Dreamers. The impact was tremendous because the ripple effect created depression. There were a lot of young folks who felt that because they didn't have the same equal access, they fell into depression. They fell out of the education system.
And so it felt very demoralizing. It felt like all this time I was told, if you work hard, if you do everything you're asked to do, if you apply for these scholarships, if you sign up for this leadership program, you're gonna be able to go to college and have a better life, and then it gets taken away. I got lucky that we were in a cohort that we found a scholarship that was able to support us privately, but my brother graduated in the year after, and he didn't get so lucky, and he wasn't able to graduate from college.
These types of laws, whether they're being just introduced or the ones that are being implemented, create a fear factor in our community. The talk about being reported to immigration, drawing attention to yourself that the authorities might come to you if you access any sort of benefits like healthcare benefits.
SB 1070 was a law that was passed at the Arizona State Legislature, and basically it was the Show Me Your Papers law.
It called to punish immigrants in every way possible, meaning if somebody was transporting an immigrant, if somebody was harboring an immigrant, it asked for people to report immigrants. It asked for police officers to turn over immigrants to immigration.
And I was on my way to a camping trip, and my brother was stopped by the police, and they pretty much got us all out of the car. They asked us all these questions. I had my ASU ID, but I didn't have a driver's license, and they pretty much handcuffed all of us and put us in a car, and then we were put into deportation proceedings. Thankfully, because I was involved in the movement, I knew my rights, and I knew to ask for talking to an attorney, and I had memorized that phone number. And luckily, I got a phone call to use that phone number and be able to get released. But if I had not known my rights, I don't know what would have happened. And so after that experience, I felt very depressed. I have also experienced the uncertainty, the stress of the survival mode, like being constantly what's gonna happen, and being hyper vigilant and being really careful about the decisions that I make, who I hang out with, what do I have? Am I giving someone a ride? Are they carrying something? Because if I get stopped and they're in my car, how's that gonna impact me? Am I gonna get in detention? It could lead to deportation, separation from my family. I don't know where I will go. I haven't been to Mexico in 20 years. And I know that's so forward thinking and so catastrophizing, but those are some of the thoughts that can happen. And if you talk to a therapist, those are some of the thought distortions that can lead to either depressive symptoms, anxiety-related symptoms, PTSD.
Suicide is very prevalent amongst folks who they see no light at the end of, they see no light at the end of the tunnel, because it seems like there's never going to be an opportunity. We're never going to move ahead.
It can be a really scary experience to share something personal about yourself that is so related to your identity. Having spaces of community, it really helps to show that they're not alone in that experience. And at least, even though it doesn't completely fix the problem at the root, it allows to have some relief that they are not alone and that others are navigating that. And so I really always try to encourage people when I give an interview or we have a workshop to remember that they're not alone, that they're worthy, and that their voice matters.
Organizations like Chicanos por la Casa are trying to fill in the gaps by offering some services for families, but a culture of fear prevents many immigrants from seeking care.
Well, it was a pretty warm day for late January, but there is a cool down on the way and even some rain. Sydney Whitty joins us from the Cronkite Weather Center with what we can expect this week.
That's exactly right. We do have a chance of rain later this week, but we'll get to that in a minute. Right now, we're sitting at a beautiful 71, and that's going to dip down to 65 at 10 p.m. tonight. Might be a good night to take the dog out on a walk. And our low temperatures for tomorrow, 59 here in Phoenix, 36 up in Flagstaff and the Grand Canyon. Some pretty cool temperatures up in High Country, and 48 down in Tombstone. And taking a closer look here in the valley for highs tomorrow, 80 up here in Phoenix, but relatively high 70s across from Whitman down to Queen Creek at 79. And taking a look at our high temperatures for tomorrow, 80 here in Phoenix and high 70s across the Colorado River, Lake Havasu at 76, Yuma at 79, and Window Rock at 56. And we do have a chance of snow and rain across the state that will continue through Thursday night to Friday. Thursday through Friday, we'll have PM rain on Thursday and Friday in the morning. And this weekend, we'll also have some pretty clear skies out there, but next week, Monday through Wednesday, those storm chances do come back, and we're about average for this time of year. I'm Sydney Whitty at the Cronkite Weather Center. Back to you.
Coming up next is the Cronkite Sports Report.
The Territorial Cup lives on for Arizona football. The Big 12 football schedule for next season dropped today, and we'll tell you what you can expect this upcoming season.
Cronkite News provides students at ASU's Walter Cronkite School of Journalism with the opportunity to gain real-world experience in the newsroom. At Cronkite News, our students produce professional content for audiences by taking on all roles, whether they be reporting, anchoring, producing, or studio production. Each department gives students first-hand professional newsroom experience. For more information, visit cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
ASU's one and only student-run radio station, Blaze Radio, provides students with opportunities to cover a variety of topics. From music,
This is Sun City Garage,
to sports coverage,
Against the Brewers in his last outing, he went
to news,
The bill also gives parents the ability to sue.
and entertainment updates. Blaze Radio offers a fun environment to gain valuable broadcast experience. To find out more, visit blazeradioonline.com.
Welcome to the Cronkite Sports Report. I'm Paul Schultz.
And I'm Jack Pearson. The Big 12 is expanding to 16 teams next year, with ASU and Arizona joining the conference, along with Colorado and Utah. And Paul, they just dropped the 2024 football schedule.
They sure did, Jack. One thing that'll stay the same, the Territorial Cup matchup. ASU and Arizona will play each other as usual, the last game of the season. But let's take a look at some of the highlights of this schedule. For ASU, they open at home against Wyoming. They have some tough road matchups, including Texas Tech, the new home of former Sun Devil Jalen Conyers, and at Cincinnati. They have 2 bye weeks in the season and a tough road game against Oklahoma State before ending the season against Arizona in Tucson. As for the Wildcats, early games of note, playing at Kansas State, at Utah in September. They welcome Deion Sanders and his Colorado Buffaloes to Tucson in October, and they have a road matchup at TCU before ending with ASU at home. It should be an interesting football season. And an interesting dilemma back here in the Valley for football fans, to root for or not to root for Brock Purdy and his San Francisco 49ers. They're heading to the Super Bowl. Jack Purdy's a local product who started at Perry High School in Gilbert. Some local businesses put up billboards supporting Purdy, but that has Arizona Cardinals fans upset. They took to social media and called it blasphemy to cheer on the rival 49ers, who are hated by Cardinals fans. The billboards were along the I-10 and US 60. I mean, you guys, we have a group of core Never Niners fans. So, Jack, I guess they'll be rooting for the Chiefs?
Yeah, Paul, I mean, I could see both sides. But hard not to root for the hometown guy, right. I would have to say. Now to a bill aimed at helping ticket buyers here in the state. The bill stems from the controversy surrounding Taylor Swift concert tickets at State Farm Stadium. Cronkite News reporter Jack Bartlett has more from the recent congressional hearings.
House Bill 2040 passed out of committee on a 9-1 vote with a goal to ban bots from buying tickets to public events. This comes after ticketing companies saw the rate of bots used to purchase tickets skyrocket. Those bots buy bulk tickets to public venues and sell them at a significantly higher rate, but are often unusable. Politicians now want to protect the consumer.
The bill originated from an article that I read about Taylor Swift, how this had happened to one of her concerts where, I don't know how to say it, but the fans got fleeced for a lot of money. There was even one lady that said she almost put it on her credit card for like $4,000 or $5,000 to purchase a ticket for her and her daughter to go to Taylor Swift. And so as I read more about it, I learned more about it, and it's just something that Arizona needs to stand up, the legislature needs to stand up and protect Arizonans today.
A StubHub representative spoke out against the bill, citing less competition will inevitably cause greater control of the market for specific companies. He also noted that StubHub has had a positive effect on the state of Arizona, and this bill will only harm that effect and the company as a whole.
In 2023, StubHub brought roughly 100,000 people to Arizona. Customers from all 50 states have used our marketplace to find tickets to events in Arizona. And admittedly, the live event ecosystem is not without challenges, which is why we support the conceptual efforts of House Bill 2040 to improve that ecosystem. However, instead of creating more competition and protecting consumers, House Bill 2040 will only concentrate that control in the hands of teams, venues, artists, primary ticketing companies.
The bill will need to pass through both chambers before it gets to Governor Hobbs' desk. With bipartisan support, legislators are hopeful that it will become a law. In the newsroom, Jack Bartlett, Cronkite News.
On to college basketball. The Baylor's women's programs announced they will retire Brittany Griner's number 42. It's been over a decade in the making, but BG finally gets her just due in Waco. The current Phoenix Mercury star is the most decorated women's basketball player in Baylor history. The four-time Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year helped Baylor win their second natty back in 2012. Drafted first overall by the Merc in 2013, Griner has gone on to win 2 Olympic gold medals and win a WNBA championship. The retirement ceremony is set place to take February 18th. We're a little over a month away from the NCAA women's basketball tournament, and the Arizona Wildcats have been struggling, but they haven't given up hope just yet to get a bid to the Madness. With their loss to Stanford at home on Sunday, the Wildcats dropped to 3-6 in conference play.
We're going to try to make the
Despite this, head coach Adia Barnes is remaining optimistic and believes her squad has a shot at making that bracket.
We're going to try to make the tournament. And I think it's realistic right now. It's going to be hard, absolutely. We'd probably be the talk of the country if we did it. But we're also in a really strong conference, and we don't have bad losses. I don't think we have one bad loss.
The calendar turns to February in 2 days, and that means ASU baseball is ramping up their season opener. They host Santa Clara in Phoenix on the 16th, Paul.
Yeah, hard to believe it's just over 2 weeks away, Jack. Head coach Willie Bloomquist has made his goal clear since day one, bringing ASU back to national prominence. Last year, the Devils finished 5th in the Pac-12 as one of the first 4 teams out of the NCAA tournament. The Devils return a few key players from last year, such as infielders New Contreras and Jacob Tobias, and catcher Ryan Campos. But the ASU skipper expects his newcomers to embrace the culture and hit the ground running on opening day.
They've been great. A lot of freshman arms, of course. Some freshman position players as well. They've come in and done a great job of fitting in with the work ethic, the mindset, mentality that we're trying to preach. So, the biggest thing for them is getting experience, and you don't get that without experience.
A lot coming up here soon in the Valley, Jack. I'm starting to get a little baseball fever.
How could you not, Paul? I mean, I'm excited myself, and spring training will be here before you know it. But that's going to be all for today's edition of Cronkite Sports Report. Let's send it over to Athena.
Coming up next, not your average Animal Crossing. How wild turkeys became the talk of one town last week. They'll survive to see another Thanksgiving thanks to some quick thinking officers.
Find out what's on Arizona PBS at azpbs.org/schedule.
Cronkite News provides students at ASU's Walter Cronkite School of Journalism with the opportunity to gain real-world experience in the newsroom. At Cronkite News, our students produce professional content for audiences by taking on all roles, whether they be reporting, anchoring, producing, or studio production. Each department gives students first-hand professional newsroom experience. For more information, visit cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
ASU's one and only student-run radio station, Blaze Radio, provides students with opportunities to cover a variety of topics. From music,
This is Sun City Garage,
to sports coverage,
Against the Brewers in his last outing, he went
to news,
The bill also gives parents the ability to sue.
and entertainment updates. Blaze Radio offers a fun environment to gain valuable broadcast experience. To find out more, visit blazeradioonline.com.
Hey Athena, why did the turkey cross the road?
After last week, officers from Ohio might have some answers. In a suburb of Cleveland, check it out, this turkey was on the loose and got caught in the middle of the road. Thankfully, a couple of police officers came to its rescue, helping the bird get to safety.
That's it for Cronkite News. Thanks for joining us.